The wild frontier was a place where even brave creatures refused to walk at night. The air was thick with glowing mist, and the trees rose so high that sunlight barely touched the ground. Strange calls echoed through the woods, sometimes soft, sometimes sharp, but always carrying a warning. And on this day, the warning felt stronger than ever. A group of alien scouts moved quickly between the giant roots. Their skin was pale green, and their four-fingered hands shook as they ran. They were not soldiers. They were simple frontier watchers, trained only to observe changes in the land. But today, something hunted them. Their leader, Tira, looked over her shoulder. She saw dark shapes sliding between the trees. "Keep moving," she shouted. "Do not stop." The youngest scout, barely able to breathe, cried out, "What is chasing us?" Tira answered with fear in her voice. "I do not know, but it is fast." The scouts pushed forward, but the forest grew darker with every step. A low rumble spread through the ground, as if something massive walked behind them. Tira knew they would not escape on their own. There was only one being who understood this land better than anyone. "The human," she whispered. "We need the human." Far away, on a quiet hill overlooking the frontier, Raiden, a lone human warrior, was sharpening his knife. He lived alone, far from cities and councils. People said humans were strange, stubborn, and reckless, but Raiden had chosen this life. He wanted peace. He wanted silence. And he wanted distance from the wars he once fought. But peace rarely lasted in the frontier. A sudden crack echoed from the forest below. Birds burst out of the trees in a wild cloud. Raiden looked up. Another sound followed, something like a deep growl mixed with metal scraping. His face tightened. "That is new," he muttered. He picked up his pack and bow. The wind carried a strange smell, burnt wood and cold ash. Something unnatural was moving in the forest today. Raiden moved silently down the hill. He walked like a shadow, stepping exactly where the soil was firm and quiet. He had lived in the frontier for years, and he knew every sound, every trail, every footprint. But today he saw something he had never seen before. A claw mark deep and wide scratched across a giant tree trunk. It was fresh. The cuts were so sharp they still glowed with warm sap. Raiden touched it gently. The mark was nearly as long as his arm. "This creature is not from this planet," he whispered. The air around him grew colder. Even the insects went silent. That was never a good sign. He took another step and froze. A distant scream pierced the forest. Not an animal. Scream, a person. Raiden's eyes narrowed. The aliens. They were in trouble. Without hesitation, he sprinted forward. Back in the forest, the alien scouts stumbled into a clearing. Tira pushed the youngest scout behind her and raised her simple spear. Her hands trembled, but she stood firm. From the dark trees, a tall shadow appeared. Its shape was unclear, as if it was made from smoke and bone. But its eyes, bright silver, cut through the mist. The scouts whispered in terror. "This is not a natural creature." The shadow moved closer, slow, confident, hungry. Tira swallowed. Her fear. "Stand behind me. If we fall, we fall together." The youngest scout cried, "Where is the human? He is our only chance." The beast charged. Ara closed her eyes. Then an arrow flew from the trees and struck the ground right in front of the beast. It stopped, confused, angry. A voice echoed from the shadows. "Step away from them." The alien scouts turned. A human figure walked out of the mist. Tall, calm, focused, his eyes sharp like a blade. "Commander Raiden," Tira gasped. "Human!" "Thank the stars." Raiden didn't look at her. His gaze stayed on the beast. He reached for another arrow slowly. "Carefully. You picked the wrong hunting ground," he said quietly. The forest went still. Even the mist seemed to hold its breath. The beast growled. Raiden raised his bow, and with the frontier watching in silent fear, the lone human stepped. Between danger and the aliens who needed him, the hook tightened. The real story was just beginning. The shadow beast's silver eyes locked onto Raiden. It seemed confused, almost offended, that a single human dared to stand in its path. The massive creature leaned forward, its bones shifting beneath dark smoke like skin. A deep growl rippled from its chest, shaking leaves loose from nearby branches. Raiden didn't flinch. He slowly circled the creature, forcing it to turn away from the frightened alien scouts. His steps were silent, each one measured. The beast watched him, waiting for weakness. But Raiden showed none. Behind him, Tira whispered to her scouts, "Stay low, do not run. Humans say the beast chases fear." Raiden heard her but didn't respond. He kept his bow drawn, but he knew arrows alone couldn't kill this monster. He needed time to read the creature, understand its rhythm, find the moment where it made a mistake. Every creature had a mistake. Whispered under his breath, "Come on, show me what you are." The beast lunged. Its speed was impossible. A blur of claws, smoke, and snapping jaws rushed at him like a storm. The scout screamed, but Raiden rolled aside at the last second, the air slicing past his face like a blade. He fired an arrow mid-roll, aiming for the creature's eye. The beast twisted its head. The arrow grazed its cheek and vanished into the trees. Raiden landed on one knee, breath steady. Fast. Very fast. The creature roared, furious. It had missed its kill. It smashed into a tree, cracking it in half. Wood splinters flew everywhere. One piece struck the ground beside Raiden like a spear. Tira grabbed the youngest scout to shield him. "Human, it is too strong." Raiden didn't answer. He didn't break focus. Instead, he studied the creature's movements. It attacked with wild force, not strategy. It relied on fear. It relied on chaos. Raiden had seen fighters like this before, fighters who believed brute strength made them unstoppable. They were wrong. The beast charged again. This time Raiden ran not away from it, but toward it. The creature didn't expect that. Its eyes widened for a second, and that second was all Raiden needed. He slid under its claw swipe and stabbed the beast's leg with a small metal spike. The creature screamed, stumbling back. The scouts gasped. He heard it. The human heard it. Raiden backed away slowly, keeping his eyes on the monster. "That spike has a shock charge," he called out. "When it moves too fast, it will feel pain." The creature tried to leap, but electricity sparked through its leg, stopping it mid-jump. It fell hard, shaking the ground. Raiden breathed deeply. "Good, now stay down." But the beast did not stay down. It rose again, slower this time, but filled with anger so strong it made the air vibrate. Smoke poured from its wounds. Its jaws opened, revealing rows of glass-like teeth. Raiden whispered, "So you don't give up, neither do humans." The creature attacked again. Raiden climbed a fallen trunk and jumped onto its back. The beast thrashed wildly, trying to throw him off. He held on, gripping its rough, shifting skin with all his strength. He pulled another spike from his belt and drove it into the creature's upper spine. A shockwave exploded through the monster. It screamed so loudly the trees shook. Raiden was thrown off, landing hard on the ground. Pain shot through his shoulder. But he forced himself to stand again. The beast staggered. Its legs trembled. The smoke from its body flickered like dying fire. Raiden raised another arrow. The beast roared one last time and retreated, limping into the dark forest, leaving deep claw marks in the soil. Silence fell. Raiden lowered his bow, breathing hard. Tira rushed over. "Human, Raiden, you saved us." Raiden cleaned the dirt from his hands. "What are you doing this deep in the frontier? This area is off-limits for your kind." Tira bowed her head, still shaking. "We had no choice. Something is changing in the land." Animals are moving away, rivers are drying. The sky screams at night, and now these creatures appear. Raiden frowned. Shadow beasts don't belong here. Someone brought them. The youngest scout stepped forward. Will you help us? Will you guide us through the frontier? Raiden looked toward the dark forest where the beast had run. His instincts screamed that this was not a single problem. This was the start of something bigger. He nodded once. Stay close, he said. From now on, you follow my rules. The frontier is alive. And if you want to survive it, you must learn what it teaches. The aliens exchanged hopeful looks. Raiden stepped into the mist. The frontier felt different, now heavier, darker. Full of secrets waiting to strike, and somewhere in the shadows, the real danger watched them. Waiting. Raiden led the alien scouts deeper into the frontier. The glowing mist wrapped around them like a silent warning. Every few steps, the trees creaked as if whispering secrets only the human could understand. The aliens followed closely, their eyes darting in every direction. They had never walked this far into human territory before, and every sound felt like danger. Tira tried to stay brave, but she could not hide her fear. Human, is this place always so quiet? Raiden didn't slow his pace. Quiet means something is watching. The frontier is never silent. The youngest scout gulped. He looked like he wanted to turn back, but Raiden's steady steps kept him moving. They reached a narrow pathway filled with roots shaped like claws. The ground was soft, almost sinking under their feet. Raiden motioned with his hand. Step. Only where I step. The ground here is tricky. Tira nodded and repeated the instructions to the others. They followed exactly, trusting Raiden completely. Halfway across, the youngest scout slipped slightly at once. A patch of mud beneath him started to bubble. Raiden grabbed him by the collar and pulled him back. A second later, the mud exploded upward, revealing a hidden sinkhole with sharp crystal spikes at the bottom. The aliens froze in horror. Raiden spoke calmly. This land tests everyone. But if you trust the frontier, it will show you the safe path. Tira whispered, Humans? You understand this place better than anyone. Raiden did not answer. His eyes scanned the trees again. Something still felt wrong. The deeper they went, the heavier the air became, like a storm building without sound. As evening approached, they made camp beneath a giant tree with roots shaped like a shelter. Raiden built a fire with swift, practiced movements. The flames burned with a strange blue light, human fire, different from alien fire. Tira watched, amazed. Your fire, it scares the creatures, Raiden nodded. They remember what it means. The aliens gathered closer to him. For the first time since the chase, they felt a small sense of safety. But safety never lasted long in the frontier. Raiden suddenly raised a hand. Quiet. Everyone froze. Soft footsteps echoed in the distance. Slow, careful, deliberate, not the chaotic movement of a beast, but the steps of something thinking. The aliens looked around nervously. Is it the shadow creature again? One whispered. Raiden shook his head. No, this one is different. The footsteps stopped. Then, glowing eyes appeared in the darkness. First 2, then 4. Then 6, creatures shaped like wolves. But twice the size emerged from behind the trees. Their fur shimmered like liquid metal, and their breath smoked in the cold air. The scouts backed away, terrified. We cannot fight them. They are night wolves. Raiden stood up slowly and stepped in front of the fire. Stay behind me. The wolves paced in a circle, testing him. They growled at the aliens but avoided getting too close to the blue flames. Tira whispered, shaking, Human, why are they here? Raiden's eyes narrowed. They are following something. Maybe us. Maybe the shadow creature. Or maybe the frontier wants to test you. One wolf moved closer, baring its teeth. Raiden didn't reach for his bow. Instead, he picked up a burning blue stick from the fire and held it high. The wolf stepped back but did not run. Another wolf growled, lowering itself for a charge. Raiden raised his voice, firm and fearless. Enough! The wolves stopped. The aliens stared in shock. How did you do that? Raiden kept his eyes locked on the wolves. They know humans. Long ago, humans helped their kind. The memory stays in their blood. The lead wolf tilted its head, as if recognizing something ancient. It stepped forward, sniffed the air, then gave a low rumbling sound, not a threat, but a warning. Raiden listened carefully. After a moment, he said quietly, "They are telling us to leave. Something worse is coming." The wolves turned and vanished into the trees as silently as they arrived. The aliens shivered. Tira spoke softly. "Human, if night wolves are afraid, then what could be stronger than them?" Raiden looked into the dark forest, his eyes cold and sharp. "The thing hunting you," he said, "and it is not alone." The aliens felt their hearts tighten. The frontier, once mysterious, now felt like a trap closing around them. Raiden added, "We move at first light. Stay awake tonight. The forest is changing, and danger is coming from places none of us understand." The scouts nodded fearfully. Asterisk as the campfire flickered blue against the mist. Raiden sat with one hand on his weapon, listening to every whisper of the forest. He knew this was just the beginning. Something old had awakened in the frontier. Something powerful. And it was coming for them. Morning light spread slowly across the frontier, turning the mist into a silver curtain. Raiden rose before the others, checking the ground for new tracks. The earth told him everything he needed to know. Someone or something had been near their camp during the night, but whatever it was, it left no footprints. Just a heavy drag mark, as if a shadow had weight. Tira approached quietly. "Human, you did not sleep." Raiden shook his head. The forest didn't sleep either. The aliens followed behind, nervous and silent. Even the youngest scout no longer complained. Fear had taught him discipline. Raiden led them toward a narrow valley. The deeper they walked, the more the air changed. A low vibration hummed through the ground, like a machine waking up after centuries. Tira rubbed her arms. "This place feels wrong." Raiden glanced at the trees. Their bark had turned black, and glowing cracks spread across the trunks like lightning scars. "These trees didn't grow this way," he said. "Something burned them from the inside." They moved on until the valley opened into a massive pit. Broken stone pillars rose from the ground, half buried under years of dust. Strange symbols covered every surface, symbols no alien scout had ever seen. The youngest scout whispered, "Did humans build this?" Raiden knelt beside a cracked stone. "No, this is far older than humans or your people. Whoever built this place lived here long before any of us." As he brushed away dirt, faint blue lines lit up under his touch. The symbols glowed, connected to each other, forming a pattern like a star map. Tira stepped back. "Human, you activated it." Raiden didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on the pattern. It pulsed once, twice. Then a bright light erupted. In the center of the structure, a hologram formed, an ancient scene projected into the air. The aliens gasped. Raiden stood still, watching carefully. The hologram showed a war. Giant cities made of crystal floating in the sky. Armies of armored beings marching across the land. And then, a black cloud spreading like a wave, swallowing everything. Shadow beasts, hundreds, then thousands poured out of the darkness. They tore through the cities, shattered the floating towers, destroyed everything in their path. The hologram flickered and changed. Now it showed a tall alien being with glowing white eyes. He looked ancient, powerful, and angry. He raised a hand, and from his palm, dark energy created the first shadow beast. The youngest scout whispered, terrified, "Someone made them. On purpose." The hologram shifted again. Now it showed the continent breaking apart. the ancient empire falling. And one message blinking repeatedly. The creation was a mistake. The creation must not return. Raiden felt his heart tighten. This was not natural. The beasts were created as weapons. And now something is reawakening them. Suddenly the ground shook violently. Dust fell from the ruins. A deep roar echoed from below them deep underground. Tira grabbed Raiden's arm. Human, something is coming from the tunnels. Raiden looked toward the dark opening under the ruins. A faint red glow shone from within, growing brighter. He drew his weapon. Everyone behind me, slowly, the rumbling grew louder. Sharp. Cracks formed along the stone walls. Then, with a thunderous crash, part of the ground collapsed. Rocks tumbled into the hole, and the scouts screamed as the edge crumbled under their feet. Raiden pulled 2 aliens back just in time. But something climbed out of the darkness. Something huge. Asterisk first came a claw longer than Raiden's entire body. Then another. The creature's head rose next, shaped like a skull carved from black iron. Smoke poured from its mouth. Its silver eyes glowed brighter than any creature they had seen before. Tira stepped back, frozen with fear. Human, this one is different. Raiden nodded slowly. Yes, the others were hunters. This one is a commander. The beast roared, and the shockwave threw everyone to the ground. The ruins cracked further, and the sky darkened as if obeying the monster's arrival. Raiden stood first. His voice was calm, even as the giant shadow creature towered over him. Tira, he said quietly, get your people away from the ruins. But what about you? She cried. Raiden didn't look back. I'll hold it. The creature stepped forward, its claws sinking into stone like mud. Raiden tightened his grip on his weapon. You want to fight? Then face a human. The beast roared again, so loud the ruins trembled. The cliff behind them shook violently. And the only exit path collapsed, trapping them inside the ancient structure. Tira screamed, we cannot escape. Raiden's eyes never left the creature. Then we fight, he said. The giant shadow beast lowered its head and charged. The giant shadow beast charged like a living storm. Its claws ripped through stone pillars as if they were dry branches. Dust exploded upward. The ground cracked under the monster's weight. Tira screamed, Raiden, move! But Raiden did not move. He waited. At the very last second, when the beast's jaws were inches from crushing him, he leaped sideways. The creature slammed into the wall behind him, breaking ancient stone into a cloud of debris. The shockwave pushed Raiden back, but he kept his footing. Too slow, he muttered. The beast turned, furious. Its skull-like head twisted unnaturally, smoke leaking from its cracked jaw. Its silver eyes glared at Raiden with a hatred that felt older than the ruins around them. Raiden reached into his belt and grabbed 2 shock spikes. He didn't waste time thinking. His body moved from instinct. A warrior who had faced monsters before, but never one like this. He ran straight at the creature. Tira gasped. He will die. He must be insane. But an older scout shook his head. No, humans do not fight like us. They fight with purpose. Raiden slid under the creature's swinging claw. He grabbed onto a broken pillar and vaulted upward, landing on the beast's shoulder. Smoke burned his skin, but he held on. He drove the first spike into the creature's neck. A violent electric surge blasted through the monster's body. It roared, shaking wildly. Raiden nearly fell, but he forced himself to hold on and drove the second spike deep into the creature's spine. Blue sparks erupted. The beast screamed, its voice echoing through the entire valley. But it did not fall. Raiden realized the horrifying truth. This creature was stronger than the others. Far stronger. And far smarter. It whipped its body sideways, smashing Raiden against a stone column. Pain shot through his ribs. He dropped one hand and almost fell, but he caught a crack in the creature's armor-like skin. Tira shouted, Human, let go. You will die. Raiden didn't listen. He pulled himself up again and climbed toward the creature's back. The beast threw itself backward, crushing Raiden between its body and the stone wall. A sickening crack echoed. Raiden collapsed onto the ground. The world spun. Colors blurred. His arm throbbed with burning pain. Broken. His breathing was shallow. The aliens ran toward him, screaming his name, but the beast stepped between them and Raiden. Smoke poured from its body like venomous fire. The youngest scout cried, "We must save him. He saved us." Tira pulled him close. "No, if we go there, we all die." The creature leaned closer to Raiden. Its cold silver eyes studied him, almost curious, as if it wondered why this fragile human refused to run. Raiden coughed, tasted blood, and forced himself to stand on one knee. "You think this is enough to kill a human?" he whispered. The beast roared, the sound vibrating through his bones. Raiden raised his hand, shaking, bloody, and pointed at the beast. "Come then." As the creature prepared to finish him, something unexpected happened. A small alien child, barely taller than Raiden's waist, stepped out from behind the others. Her eyes were glowing with fear, but her voice was steady. "Leave him!" she screamed. The beast turned toward her. Tira shouted, "No, stay back!" But the child did not move. She looked up at the giant creature and said, with trembling courage, "He protected us. Now we protect him." The beast's silver eyes narrowed. Then a loud crack echoed from the wall behind her. A huge piece of stone broke loose, falling toward the girl. Raiden didn't think. Broken arm, bleeding, barely able to move. None of it mattered. He sprinted. He grabbed the child and rolled away just as the massive stone slammed into the ground, shattering into dust. The scouts were stunned. Tira's voice broke. He saved her. Even now. Raiden set the child down gently. "Stay behind me," he said. The beast roared, frustrated that its prey had escaped. It charged again. Raiden stood tall, not because he had strength left, but because humans simply refused to kneel. "Tira!" he shouted. "Trap the creature. Use the shock lines." Tira hesitated. "But we do not know how. Just do it." Raiden growled. The aliens spread out, working quickly. They connected Raiden's dropped spikes with their own power crystals. The crystals lit up, forming a glowing circle on the ground. Raiden limped toward the center. Baiting the creature, the beast lunged. Raiden dove aside. The creature landed directly on the shock circle. A massive explosion of blue lightning burst upward, engulfing the monster in a cage of energy. It roared in pain, thrashing violently as the crystal lines burned into its body. Raiden collapsed to his knees. Exhausted, Tira and the others ran to him, lifting his arms over their shoulders. The beast finally fell, its body dissolving into black smoke that drifted into the sky. The ruins became silent again. Tira whispered, tears in her voice, "Human, you saved us all." Raiden closed his eyes, breathing hard. "No, you saved yourselves. Humans don't stand alone. Our strength is that we stand together." The aliens carried him away from the ruins, climbing toward a high cliff. When they reached the top, Raiden opened his eyes. His heart stopped. Below them, marching in the mist, hundreds of shadow beasts, an army, and all of them were moving toward the alien homeland. Raiden whispered, voice heavy with dread, "This war has only begun." Raiden stood on the cliff, his injured arm hanging limp at his side. The army of shadow beasts stretched across the valley like a living black sea. Their glowing silver eyes flickered through the mist. Their bodies moved in perfect rhythm, as if controlled by a single mind. The alien scouts trembled behind him. Tira whispered, "Human, there are too many. No one can fight this army." Raiden did not answer. His jaw tightened. His breath grew slow and controlled. Pain pulsed through his broken bones, but something deeper filled his eyes' resolve. "We have to move." he finally said. Your people must be warned. They helped him walk down the cliffside trail. Every step made him wince, but he refused to stop. The alien settlement lay hidden in a valley shaped like a crescent moon. Homes built of glowing stone blended into the land like natural formations. Children played near the water channels, unaware of the danger marching toward them. When the villagers saw Raiden, blood-covered and supported by scouts, they froze in shock. He comes injured. What attacked them? Why is the human here? An elder stepped forward. Her purple eyes were wise and stern. Tira, speak. Tira knelt. Elder Sarai. The frontier is awakening. Shadow beasts have returned, and this human saved our lives. Gasps filled the crowd. Elder turned to Raiden. Is this true? Raiden nodded. An army is coming. You have maybe one day. Fear spread across the village like wildfire. Mothers pulled children close. Warriors tightened their grips on their spears. Elder Sarai looked at Raiden closely. Human, you are injured. You need rest. Raiden shook his head firmly. No, what I need is for your people to prepare. Tira stepped forward. He speaks the truth. He fought a commander beast alone. Without him, we would have died. The villagers stared at Raiden with new eyes, not as an outsider, but as someone who had bled for them. The elder nodded. Very well. Human, what must we do? Raiden looked across the settlement. He saw fear, confusion, doubt. But he also saw potential. These aliens were not warriors, but they were strong in spirit. First, he said, we build defenses. Walls won't stop these creatures, but traps will. The villagers leaned in. He pointed to the ground. Dig trenches around the valley. Deep ones. Cover them with nets and crystal spikes. He pointed at the rooftops. Set fire lines along the edges. Blue fire, like the one I used in the frontier, it scares them. He pointed at the water channels. Flood the lower paths. Shadow beasts hate water. Tira watched him carefully. Human, how do you know all this? Raiden met her gaze. Because humans have fought monsters before. And we learned that no creature is unbeatable when people fight together. The elder nodded. Then we follow the human's plan. The village erupted into motion. Workers dug trenches. Children carried crystal stones. Elders lit blue fire torches. Alien warriors placed traps in the tall grass. Raiden walked among them, giving directions with calm precision. Even with his injuries, he refused to rest. Every step reminded him of the war he once fought on another world. The same fear, the same dark enemy, the same loneliness, but this time, he wasn't alone. Tira walked beside him, human. You train our people like you have trained armies, Raiden sighed. I have trained armies, and I have buried many. Of them, Tira placed a gentle hand on his uninjured arm. This time will be different. He looked away. I hope so. Later, as the sun set behind the mountains, Raiden gathered the villagers in the central square. The blue fire torches burned around them, casting long shadows. Raiden stepped onto a stone platform. His voice was steady, clear, and strong. Listen well, he said. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is choosing to stand even when fear tries to crush you. The villagers leaned in, silent and wide-eyed. These beasts think you are weak. They think you will run. But tonight, you show them the truth. He pointed toward the darkening horizon. You show them you will protect your home. He touched his chest lightly. You show them what humanity taught me. Standing together makes us stronger than any monster. The crowd murmured with courage. Raiden lifted his weapon, ignoring his pain. The beasts are coming, and when they arrive, we will be ready. As if answering him, the ground trembled. A distant roar echoed across the valley long deep. And filled with hunger, the villagers shivered. Raiden's eyes sharpened. Everyone to your positions, Tira whispered. Human, This is it. Raiden nodded. Yes, tomorrow the frontier will remember our names. Night fell. The mist thickened. The ground shook again, closer this time. The Shadow Army was near, and humanity stood tall. The night swallowed the valley in thick mist. Blue fire torches flickered like small stars, casting faint circles of light around the alien settlement. Every villager stood behind a barricade, a trench, or a rooftop perch, hands shaking, hearts pounding. Children hid deep inside the stone shelters, whispering prayers. Raiden stood at the front line, his injured arm wrapped tightly, his good arm gripping his weapon with unshakable determination. Tira stood beside him, spear raised. A deep tremor rolled through the soil. The ground vibrated like a drum being struck by giant hands. They're close, Raiden said, voice steady. Tira swallowed. Human, what if this is the last night? Raiden glanced at her with fierce calm. Then we will make it a night they never forget. The tremor grew stronger. Stones bounced on the ground. Air turned cold. Then the mist split open. Hundreds of glowing silver eyes appeared. The shadow beasts stepped into the valley, one row, then another, then another. They moved like a single body, claws scraping the ground. Smoke swirling around them like hungry ghosts. A wave of fear hit the entire village. Raiden raised his weapon and shouted so loud the mountains echoed, "Hold the line!" The beasts roared and charged. The village exploded into action. Trenches collapsed under the beasts' weight, dropping dozens into pits lined with crystal spikes. Blue flames shot across the rooftops as villagers threw fire lines, forcing the beasts to scatter. Raiden ran forward, setting off shock traps. Explosions of blue electricity burst across the battlefield, throwing shadow creatures into the air. Tira and her warriors formed a defensive circle, spears glowing with energy crystals. They struck with surprising precision. Raiden's training had sharpened their instincts. But the army was massive. For every beast that fell, 3 more emerged from the mist. The ground turned to chaos. A shadow creature leaped at Raiden. He dodged and stabbed upward, electricity crackling through its body. Another attacked from behind, but Tira blocked it with her spear. "You fight like a storm," Raiden told her. Tira smiled despite the fear. "You taught us." They fought side by side, back to back, the way human soldiers once did in forgotten wars. The beasts shifted strategy. They began pushing toward the village center, toward the children. Raiden saw it. His heart jolted. "Cut them off," he shouted. But the beasts were too many. Raiden sprinted into the enemy swarm, ignoring the pain ripping through his ribs. He fired shock spikes, swung his blade, and drove into the path of the advancing creatures. "Come at me!" he roared. The beasts listened. They surrounded him like a whirlpool of darkness from a rooftop. The youngest scout watched in horror. "He's alone. He will die." Tira cried. Humans do not fall so easily. But inside, even she feared for him. Raiden fought like a cornered animal, fast, brutal, and unbreakable. Smoke burned his lungs. Claws tore at his clothes. Blood dripped down his side. Still he fought. Still he stood. But even he had limits. A massive shadow beast, the last commander, rose from the mist. Taller than any building, its horns curved like blades. Its eyes glowed with cruel intelligence. It stepped forward, ready to crush Raiden. Tira screamed, "Human! Move!" Raiden didn't move. He looked up at the creature and whispered, "Not today." The commander roared and raised its claw. But before it struck, the villagers charged. Not 1, not 10. All of them. Warriors, workers, elders, every alien Raiden had inspired. They rushed forward with spears, fire torches, and crystal chains. They surrounded Raiden, forming a living shield. The youngest scout shouted, voice trembling but brave, "You stood tall for us. Now we stand tall for you." The commander beast hesitated. Raiden felt his chest tighten, not with fear, but with pride. "Tira," he said softly. This is your fight now. She nodded, eyes fierce. Together. Raiden lifted his weapon one last time. For the frontier. The villagers echoed. For the frontier. They attacked as one. Crystal chains wrapped around the commander's legs. Fire torches struck. Its smoke-filled skin. Electricity surged from newly placed spikes, blasting through its body. Tira leaped and struck the creature's glowing heart. The beast screamed, a deep, dying cry that shook the valley. Then its body cracked, glowed, and burst into a cloud of harmless, silver dust. The remaining beasts froze, the moment their leader vanished. They dissolved into smoke and faded into the mist. Silence fell. The battle was over. Raiden dropped to one knee, exhausted. Tira caught him before he fell. You did it, she whispered. Raiden shook his head weakly. No, we did it. Villagers gathered around him, cheering, crying, embracing each other. Children ran out of the shelters, touching Raiden's hand. With awe, Elder Sarai approached and bowed deeply. Human. Today humanity stood tall. And because of you, our people still live. Raiden looked at the sunrise breaking through the mist. Light washed over the valley, warm and golden. He smiled softly. This is the beginning of a new frontier, he said. And humans do not walk it alone. The aliens stood with him on the cliff. Side by side. Together. Humanity had changed their world forever.